Hey, what's up guys? Today I will be showing you how to tie my Predator Intruder. This pattern, it's based off of the original Intruder variations. The only difference is I use bucktail in this, along with the marabou, so it's still got the nice wiggle of the marabou, but it's also got the durability of the bucktail, and also creates a bulkier profile, which pushes more water and creates more vibrations, which in turn stimulates an attack response from bigger fish such as pike and bass, depending on the size of the intruder you tie. I mean, honestly, you could tie this way smaller and even target like perch and walleye, or tie it 3 times as big for pike and muskie. It's just a really good pattern, and it's really versatile. There's all different kinds of variations of this, different colors, different sizes, just all kinds of different things you could do with it. You could change up the tungsten bead for bead chain eyes or lead eyes, depending on the depth you want it to sink and all sorts of stuff. So it's just a very versatile fly that you can tie many different variations, and you just find the variation that best suits the fish you are specifically targeting. So let's get into the tying video. To start this tie, we will start with thread wraps behind the tungsten bead, wrapping it to secure it, snip the thread, and then make sure you do some tight thread wraps right behind the bead just to secure it good. Then send some wraps down to the bend of the hook, which will be it'll end up being the end of the shank once you snip the hook there. Tie in the stinger hook. Make sure you do really tight wraps over the marabou, and I would recommend sealing it with Zap Gap or super glue for extra strength, especially if you're targeting bigger predatory fish like largemouth bass, smallmouth bass, and many of the Esox species, especially because of their teeth, just to make it more durable. Next is the yellow schlappen. This will provide most of the movement underwater, especially because of how wavy and webby it is. There's a choice between using chickaboo or hen hackle instead of schlappen, but I do prefer schlappen because they have slightly longer fibers, and you've got a good variation. It starts with very wispy, webby feathers, and then it goes to slightly more stiffer, more like chickaboo. That just creates a better variation on the marabou and just a different movement in the water, and I prefer it that way. Next, we'll be tying in the red ostrich hurl. This, I only tie in 2 strips on either side for this variation, the red color. But if you're trying to imitate a fish with a strong lateral line, like say you're imitating perch or something with your streamer pattern, I would recommend adding more, like 4 or 5 on each side, just to get a stronger lateral line. Next, we'll tie in the deer belly fur. I use belly fur because it, when you tie it in, it spins better and creates a more dense, bulky profile. This will do most of the work for pushing water and creating vibrations in the water column as you strip the fly in. Also, when you strip it in, because of its light structure, it will all push back, and then on the pause it will spring back, creating a lot of wiggle and movement that catches the fish's attention. Now, to really secure them back into the position you want, I use a little bit of dubbing that I'll tie in right behind. Actually, it's not behind, it's in front. Sorry, I'm wrong. In front of the fibers, just to make sure that they are secured in the position I want them. So you'll notice they're a little bit higher than you'd think you'd want them. But once you've gotten the fur wet and it dries, it will, in its final position, it'll be a little further back, more laid back than it looks like it is now. But that's just because it's dry, it hasn't been in water yet, so it's still got a lot of memory to it. So tying the dubbing just to make a good dam between the belly fur and the hook of the eye, and then grab your bucktail and tie it in on top for the wing. I spread this just a little bit so that some of the some of the bucktail fibers reach halfway down, so they don't spin all the way around the hook eye, the hook shank, but they go halfway around, and this just creates a kind of a fading in of the darker color into the yellow. And this is mainly just for aesthetics, but I also find a good looking fly, especially with streamers. Sometimes it's more realistic. And also, if you have a pretty fly in your fly box and you're fishing with a big group of other anglers, it's nice to have nice flies. It catches the angler as much as it does the fish. Trim off all the butt ends, make sure you tie them in nice and tight. You'll notice that the head of the fly is a bit larger on this fly than others. I do that just to make sure that the bucktail fibers are very well secured, because they're often the first fibers to get pulled when I've used the fly after a long time, and this just gives it extra strength. I'm just gonna throw in some half hitches, and later I'll super glue it, but I left the super glue in the fridge. But I would recommend doing whip finishes, because they're a bit stronger. I just can't find my whip finisher tool at the moment, so I have to do half hitches, and it'll work. It's strong. Grab a pair of pliers or wire cutters and snip off the hook at the bend, and that's it. Finished fly. As you can see in the underwater footage, when you pull it, it compacts and makes a torpedo minnow shape, and then on the paws, all the fibers flare out and poof, and that gives it that wiggly, enticing movement in the water, which is very key, especially in still water. Guys, in here and finally caught me. Nice little sharp tooth. Only fly. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this, feel free to hit the subscribe button.